Well, I don't agree with that intervention. There's no research for that. Have you heard that before? Today, on my mini episode of the ABA Speech Podcast, I am talking all about my very favorite problem solving framework for when we get into a disagreement about treatment planning, about intervention. This summer, I'm going to be doing 4 10-minute podcast episodes to answer my most asked questions. And this one is, what do we do when this person suggests an intervention that I don't think is evidence-based, or I don't agree with, or I don't have much information about? So in this episode, you are going to learn all about a very simple framework that you can start using in your school, in your clinics, tomorrow. I cannot wait for you to log into this episode, listen to all 10 minutes of it. I also have 2 really great resources linked: our ethics course, all about navigating these types of problems among SLPs and BCBAs that counts for ethics, and also the actual article that I discuss will also be linked in the show notes.
I'm Rose Griffin, a speech therapist, board-certified behavior analyst, and founder of ABA Speech. It wasn't all that long ago that I felt overwhelmed by providing therapy for my autistic students and any students who were not yet speaking. Fast forward through many doubts, tears, research, and courses, and you will see the framework that I use today and share with over 60,000 readers weekly. One that will help you support your students and feel more confident in the process. I created the ABA Speech Podcast to give you simple, step-by-step strategies to help you reach all of your students wherever they are on their communication journeys. If you're a speech therapist, BCBA, RBT student, or parent who's looking to help all students develop a way to communicate with the world, you are in the right place, friend. Let's get started.
Where's your research for that? That is about the quickest way to erode a professional relationship. That is one of the gems from one of my favorite articles by Dr. Broadhead called Maintaining Professional Relationships in an Interdisciplinary Setting. This is an amazing way to navigate, I think, problem solving or conflict when we're working in a setting with speech therapists, BCBAs, OTs, PTs, RBTs, everybody. I am doing 4 mini podcast episodes this summer, and they're each going to be only 10 minutes max. I promise. I am answering my most asked questions. And the one thing that I get emails, Instagram DMs, messages on Facebook about is disagreements. Disagreements between speech therapists and BCBAs, speech therapy assistants, RBTs, OTs. We really do all come from a place of wanting to help others, but we have different backgrounds. We have different backgrounds. And when we have different training and different backgrounds and a different focus, we sometimes get in each other's way. I know that I became a speech therapist and I became a BCBA, and you did too, to help others. But sometimes we think our way is the only way, or our science is the only science that is helpful. And that's just not true. So we inevitably are going to get into situations where we have conflict. So in this episode, I want to talk about what is a flowchart if you get into a disagreement, besides just venting to a coworker or something like that. What can we do to remedy the situation? Because anything that happens at work, we can't just blow up that relationship, right? We can't just say exactly how we feel in the moment because we don't want to burn a bridge. That's super unprofessional. And we don't want to practice in silos either. I'm doing a new live course that will be coming out closer to back to school time about from silos to synergy. And it's all about collaborative and respectful interdisciplinary practice. I'm excited about that. So in this flowchart, and I'm going to link this article in the show notes. The name of the article is Maintaining Professional Relationships in an Interdisciplinary Setting. Strategies for navigating non-behavioral treatment recommendations for individuals with autism. And it's by Dr. Broadhead, who has been on the podcast. He is a wealth of information. And one of the quotes he uses in there is an interdisciplinary collaboration for individuals with autism involves combining the strengths of multiple disciplines. Oh, yeah, in order to maximize client outcomes. We want to help others. And sometimes we get into battles about what is the best way to help. And I have seen a lot of really ugly things recently on social media where BCBAs are commenting really mean things to other BCBAs, and speech therapists are commenting really mean things to BCBAs, and BCBAs are commenting really mean things to autistic individuals. And I that's not how I do things here at ABA Speech. I try to be really, really positive. And so I try to disseminate research and science. That's why I started my whole entire business, because I do believe in science and I do believe in sharing it every day with anybody who will listen. So thank you, because you're listening today. And anyway, this is a flow chart that we are going to link up in the show notes. And it is a really nice way to say, okay, we are having a disagreement about what is the best intervention for this particular learner. Now, this is geared a little bit more towards BCBAs looking at this and using it, but I think that we as speech language pathologists can riff on this decision-making model. And so one of the things it talks about is client safety at risk. So let's say there's an intervention that comes up at an IEP meeting or some type of meeting, some type of dialogue, and you need to ask yourself, is client safety at risk? Okay, if it is, we are going to address the treatment. Absolutely 100%. Is client safety at risk? No. The next question says, are you familiar with the treatment? Are you familiar with the treatment? And that is something that we need to familiarize ourselves with the treatment. I've created a course actually a year ago now, all about the ethics of SLP BCBA collaboration around the topics of Gestalt language processing, AAC, and verbal imitation. And this is a very important topic for us to familiarize ourselves. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So one of the things we've been talking about a lot in that particular course, which I will link into the show notes, that is available for all members of the ABA Speech Connection. But if you're not ready to join the connection yet, we have that course. That's an ethics course for speech therapists and BCBs as a single ethical CEU course for speech therapists and BCBAs. And one of the things we talk about, well, what is Gestalt language processing? What is the research that's out there? There's been a systematic review to say that what we as BCBAs think is robust research is not necessarily out there, but we know as speech language pathologists that we have our evidence-based triangle. And what do we consider to say that something is evidence-based? I think that's the gray area that a lot of people are just fighting about, to be completely honest, because I've seen people just leave conference talks when this is brought up. It's a very touchy subject. And I just want to help people, and I want to share the information that's out there. So if that interests you, check out that course below on the show notes. But this is the area of this particular flowchart that I like to talk about. We need to familiarize ourselves with the treatment. If somebody says, well, we're using Gestalt language processing. Number one, do you know what Gestalt language processing is? Really is. Do your own research, not just get on Instagram and look up the hashtag GLP. Number two, is it affecting client safety? That's another thing that we go back to. So another area that we're going to be discussing in 2026 in the ABA Speech Connection is this idea of scope of practice and scope of competence. Another area where we as BCBAs and speech therapists really don't always have a lot of specialized training is apraxia. We need to know as BCBAs, what is apraxia? This is not something that falls within what a BCBA is skilled or trained to do. And a lot of times, speech language pathologists don't feel comfortable treating somebody who has apraxia. So what are we ethically called to do in that situation, right? We want to become familiar with the treatment or become familiar with it. And so this flow chart will take us through that. Why I also like this flow chart is I think it takes some of the emotion out of it. Okay, so we become familiar with the treatment. We look up whatever treatment has been suggested by the team. Are we familiar with it? No. We go to ResearchGate, we go to the BACB, we talk to our friend who's a speech therapist or our colleague, and we get information about the treatment. The question they ask then is, familiarize yourself with the treatment and assess client safety. Is the intervention going to affect client safety, right? If yes, then we need to bring up the treatment and we need to say, this doesn't seem right. Another question they have is this treatment success possible when it's translated into behavioral principles? Now, that will be for the BCBAs who are listening in, right? If the answer is yes, then we don't need to address the treatment. That's what the decision-making model says. Okay. And the decision-making model goes on and on and on. And I promised I was only going to talk for 10 minutes in each of these mini episodes. So I'm going to quiet my mouth there. But we have been, in the courses that I've been doing recently, discussing the top part of the decision-making model, which is if somebody recommends a treatment and you're not familiar with it, instead of saying something that's going to erode the professional relationship, like, where's your research for that? We want to take that out of our vocabulary. We don't want to say that. We want to familiarize ourselves with the treatment. I also have some resources I'm going to talk about in a later mini episode about collaborative phrases. These are almost like functional communication phrases for speech therapists and BCBAs. How can we work together more effectively? And I think we really just need more training on that type of collaboration. So, in today's mini episode, I talked all about one of my favorite frameworks for decision making when a conflict arises with a team of members, speech therapists, BCBAs, OTs, RBTs, everybody. If there is a disagreement, we take the emotion out of things when we use research. And this is a very user-friendly flowchart. A lot of you have emailed me or LinkedIn or Instagram like, hey, where's that article that you talked about that one time and that ethics CEU? So I am going to link this exact article in the show notes. I'm also going to link our CEU course that's all about navigating conflict around the topics of Gestalt language processing, AAC, and verbal imitation. I said 10 minutes, so I'm going to log off now, but tune in for our next mini episode happening soon.